Hey guys, Bix Weir, road2road.com with your morning horn of Z's, your sip of chaga coffee. Ooh, it's a good one. I'm starting off late today because slept in. It's Saturday, right? But I've been emailing friends and family in California. You know, when Trump said it's going to get worse for the next couple weeks, I think this week is going to be one of the worst weeks in California. Um, so I sent this email to my friends and family, or text. Looks like next week starts the real heavy stuff, like runs on stores, shortages, and bank cash issues. Definitely the banks are insolvent, so if you have cash in there, uh, for some reason, I had increased my debit card, the amount you could pull out during the day, to $900, and it's been $900 for like 2 years. Some reason they chopped that in half. It's now $500, a little more than that. And I'm like, what's going on here? And I'm going to give them a call later today and say, hey, why did you decrease the amount I can withdraw? They're going to say, well, because of the coronavirus. And I would say, well, you're holding my money. Don't you think it's more important that I have my money in my hand than you have it? Duh. They should have increased my line so I can get money into my hand. But the reality is they don't have my money. So you got to go into your bank and get all your money out. Anyway, I also said stock up with a minimum of a month of food and supplies unless you want to wait in long lines. Up to lipo, vitamin C, and chaga intake if you have to go out in public. Stay safe. Absolutely. I live in a different place. I live in Northern California, the Bay Area, one of the biggest hit spots. Not like New York, but we went on lockdown pretty damn early, which is good. So it's bad, but it's not like New York bad. So that's kind of where it is. It's not good, but it's not like New York. I think this coming week people are going to start. They've been. I think the required lockdown was like a week ago, so where they were closing businesses. Now the people are going to start saying, "What the fuck," and get pissed, or say, "Oh my God, they're going to close the grocery stores forever." They have started allocating the amount of people that can go into the store. That's new as of the last couple of days. Stocks are the shelves are kind of three-quarters stocked, and it's hit and miss. Eggs seem to be there one day and gone the next, so keep that in mind, and stay safe. And I did have a friend reach out, a good friend, um, and said, I'm scared of what's happening. Here's what I want to say about how to mentally deal with this thing. This is your grand adventure. Let me read you what I wrote and see what you guys think. I said, don't be scared. It will pass in time. We all chose to live at this moment to experience this change. Just rethink everything you relied on in the past, as everything will be different going forward. Those who are counting on things to go back to normal will not do well in the new paradigm. Fear is immobilizing, and you need to be agile to navigate from here on. Look at it as a grand adventure where you are the hero of the story. I absolutely believe that. I know that from my financial standpoint, the world will never, ever, ever, ever go back to the way it was. I'm sorry. It's done. That system, that way of living, the fiat monetary system, the free money to buy a house, all that stuff is gone and will never, ever return. The banks are all insolvent at this very moment. That's why they had to delay the earnings reporting. Earnings reporting has been delayed for 45 days. Why? Because they're all insolvent. They could have said, oh my God, we lost so much money, here you go. Everybody would run into the bank, pull their money out, if they could get it, and voila, the game is over. Now, what's going to change? Nothing. If you live in the United States, the reversal of globalization is going to really, really, really hit you in the head, because China's not shipping us any more product, probably ever. And they were making 80, 90% of our stuff. for medicines, I think it was 90%, 85 to 90%. And think about all the car parts. Cars manufactured here, many of the parts were made all over the world. They're not going to be coming in. We are not going back to the life we had 2 years ago. And it's up to us to adapt and change. And like what Cliff said, those who look at this in a dynamic way, meaning I have to change. Things are going to be different. I have to figure out where I'm going to get my food, where I'm going to work, what I'm going to do for a living in the future, because a lot of the old jobs will be gone. Anything in banking related to finance, real estate, car sales, all the product sales, everything's going to be gone for maybe forever, especially on the banking side, because that was the worst idea ever humanity had, to go onto a fiat monetary system back in 1913. I know why they did it, because they found all this gold in the Grand Canyon. They couldn't deal with it back then, so they postponed it. So we get to deal with it, and that's okay. We chose this time to live on this planet for this reason, to live through this insanity. All the way up to a month ago, for me, it was pointing out, hey, something's wrong within the financial system. Look at all these criminals. Look what's going on here. Something's wrong. Now the rest of the world is going to figure out, here's what's wrong. I think my duty next is to look forward. Where are we going? How are we going to smoothly get through this over the next 20, 30 years? And according to Cliff's data, it's at least 20 years we're going to have to deal with this type of stuff. So everybody has to change their mindset, or you're not going to deal with the change well, and you will end up not surviving the change. And many people are just going to go nuts because their paradigm has been ripped apart, and they aren't fluid enough. They aren't adaptive enough. They aren't dynamic enough to move forward in the new world. And that's where we are. I don't know how bad it's going to get. And I get all the conspiracy stories, the good ones and the bad ones. The bad ones being the bad guys are taking over, the bad guys are making their final move. The one world government guys are going to take away all our liberty and destroy us, and one world government, and cut the population into 90% of what it used to be. There's that one. There's they're freeing all the children from in the underground caves and all that. And then Trump's going to open up the economy and everybody will be living in a great life and all the bad guys will go to jail. There's that one. Then there's the people who are saying, I don't know what the hell's going on, and I don't believe anything I read. There's that one. And yes, every government is lying about the coronavirus numbers. Some lying that they're too low, some lying that they're too high. I don't know what's going on, but I know they're lying, and everybody has their own agenda. So that's the kind of thing you need to juggle in your mind as we move forward, because knowing that the past will not equal the future in this situation, in this case, helps a lot. You put yourself into this grand adventure called the transition, and we are in year 0. So now's the hard part. Now's the part where you got to go, okay, how can I best situate myself, my friends, my family? How can I help with the progression of this and not be stuck in fear? If you stick your head in fear and loathing and of everything, you're not going to be able to open your mind enough to survive this. Fear is a killer. You cannot be stuck in fear. You have to be stuck in a changing dynamic. Know that everything's going to change. There's short term, there's medium term, there's long term. Look at your life, look at your friends, look at your family, talk to people about this stuff. And then go with the flow. As the world opens up and we find out what's really going on, which I think over the next 2 or 3 years, there'll be a lot of information given out that has been hidden. For example, the ETs in the sky and stuff like that. And obviously the banking system and the religious system and the pedophiles and all that stuff is going to open up over the next 2 or 3 years. So this isn't going to happen overnight. And no, on next Monday after Easter, Trump's not going to come out and say, okay, everything back to normal and back to the way it was. It will never go back there. It cannot ever go back there. The global economic system has been destroyed. 100%. You won't see it yet because of the rigging operations by Steve Mnuchin. but those will end soon. And then it's down to what people have in their hands, how much chaos is there. They have to reallocate money, all kinds of things in the future. And you have to go with it. You got to go with the flow or you're going to be screwed. If you think things are going back to the way they were and you're acting as if they're going back to the way they were, you're not going to survive this transition. Those days are gone. It shouldn't be scary to you. It should be an opportunity. You could be the hero in your story. That's why you came here on planet Earth, to live this experience at this time. You could have chosen not to come down to live this, but you said, hey, I want to check that out. I want the best conditions to show that I can rise to the top and say, oh my God, you were such a good person during this transition. You helped so many people, or you saved your family, or whatever it was. You want to look back on your life and say, wow, that was a crazy adventure. And this is your adventure. So be the hero of your own adventure. And what that means for people all around the world, it depends on your situation and who you are and what you think you came here to do at this time. I kind of know what I came here to do, and it's this. Give my little horn of Z's every day and talk about freedom and the importance of not losing our freedom and liberty in this transition. I will always fight for that, because if we lose that, there's nothing worth fighting for. And we just pack it up and move on to the next life, because it'll affect our kids, our grandkids, and all the way down the line. We have to solve these problems and solve them in a way that promotes freedom and liberty and free markets, because the alternative is a nightmare. Socialism has never, ever failed in the history of mankind. I mean, never, ever succeeded. It has always failed, every single time. The amount of people who have died because of the political ideology of socialism is incalculable. Look it up. So let's move on. Let's talk about silver really quick. This is the price graph for silver since 1975 or 70, when Alan Greenspan implemented the very first computer rigging programs into the Fed. And all the peaks and troughs and crashes and everything on here, everything you see has been computer manipulated out of the Fed and the Treasury. Every little bit of it. And including the bullion banks. This one right here was JP Morgan. Right here, from 20 right in here to the peak near 50. JP Morgan, Jamie Dimon put his SWAT team, the head of his SWAT team, a guy named Bill Daley, as Barack Obama's chief of staff to rig the markets for silver, rig it up to get everybody excited, and then destroy it and create an artificial bear market. That's where we have been for now. And a lot of people just buying into the silver. You are so freaking lucky to be able to buy physical silver right now. You don't have to deal with these last 30 years that most of us have had to deal with. You don't have to go through the pain and screaming at the CFTC how illegal this is. You know, where is the CFTC? They're supposed to regulate this market. Silver's down at $14 and you can't find any physical silver at $14. Does anybody have half a brain at there? They do. They are in on the rig job. 100% in on the colluding with the Fed, with the Treasury, and with the bullion banks for rigging the price of silver. So you should look at if you're just learning about silver and the importance of having physical assets in your own possession, you have been given a gift of 30 years of no pain for you. And all of a sudden you have $14 silver. Imagine being back here and saying, oh my God, and understanding the silver market back in 1978 when it was at $14. And you're going, oh my God, this is the most undervalued asset in the history of the world. And boom, it shoots up to $50 and you're telling your friends and family, and then bang, slam down. Because of computer market manipulation and rigging of the silver market. And then you fought your way for the last 30 years through this crap. Ted Butler's like that. Although it was in the 80s that he really nailed down what was going on in silver. I guess that was 30 years ago. This is a 50-year chart. You imagine fighting this fight for 50 years and then some guy, some schmo today just finds out about silver and starts buying at $14 after you went all through that pain and suffering over 50 years. So silver will be set free one day. It will take the shutting down of our current exchanges. And I believe that is coming. Clearly, they are not functioning properly on gold or silver. Let me show you a little peek behind the scenes in the comics. This is the comics volume. Look, it is dropping off to almost nothing. There is no silver to be found, but the pricing mechanism is so flawed that nobody's buying any comics contracts anymore. I mean, relatively speaking. Like right in here on February 28th, when the big rig job was going on, 1.5 billion ounces of silver traded in one day. Remember, only 850 million ounces are mined every single year. But on February 28th, 1.5 billion ounces traded hands. It's all bullshit. It's all electronic games. And now nobody knows where the riggers are going to put it. No one knows where Steve Mnuchin's going to click his mouse. Because he can click it to 0 and shut down the silver exchanges. Or he could click it to $1 million an ounce. It's all phony. So look at the volume right here. We went from 1.5 billion traded in one day to 250 million traded. And even, well, 250 million is still gigantic. It's like a third of the silver ever mined, and it's traded in 24 hours. It is ridiculous, the rigging of the silver market. The mining companies are the ones I was screaming at 15 years ago when they kicked me out of the Silver Summit. The CEOs of the mining companies, how could they sit on their asses and just get reamed by the bullion banks over and over and over again? They're supposed to fight for their shareholders. If you own stock in a mining company, get the hell out. Get the hell out, because the people who run it have their heads up their asses. Big time. And all mines will be nationalized at some point. You'll never, ever, ever, ever get to see that value. Ever. Especially when the banks crash. If you don't have it in your possession, in your own physical possession, where you know you're the only thing between you and your silver is you. There's no delivery trucks, there's no vault, there's no nothing. Just you and your silver. That's what it means having it in your possession. Same with cryptos. Or you will lose them. Especially with the turmoil that's coming down the pike over the next couple of weeks. I hope I'm very clear. If you want to buy silver, I think Andy Scheckman at Miles Franklin has some, and he's given the best prices out there for Road to Root followers. Just say, send Andy an email, andy@milesfranklin.com, milesfranklin.com. Say, Bix said you had the best prices on silver. And then see what he's got. See what he can ship you right away. But get that physical silver in your own possession. As far as cryptos, yes, they're still rigging cryptos. Bitcoin Ben is on the of the opinion that the bad guys within cryptos are going to take control of things. I don't know. It could be. But, is that a world that we want to live in when those bad guys aren't arrested? Not all of cryptos is the bad guys, obviously, but there is a crypto cabal, as I call them. And they're associated with Tether and Bitfinex that control the prices of everything. They're creating Tether out of thin air, and there's no money behind it. There's promises for money behind it. There's no money behind it. Why is it allowed to happen? Because they are in charge. That's the deep state. That's the bad guys. That's the Dick Allgaier gang who are trying to, destroy you and your freedom. So, yeah, they're probably going to try to bump up the cryptos by creating Tether out of thin air, buying all the cryptos to get everybody excited about it. And then at some point, they'll probably pull the plug again. Or Steve Mnuchin and the gang of criminals that rigged it in 2017 will pull the plug. You just got to hang on. You just got to hodl through all this bullshit. And the problem is at the exchange level. The exchanges are not trading cryptocurrencies. They're trading fake promises, all of them. Look at the volumes. Look at even Bitcoin, the largest of all the cryptos with $124 billion market cap. in the last 24 hours traded $31 billion worth of Bitcoin, or 1/4 of every Bitcoin ever mined traded hands. Did you trade your Bitcoin yesterday? No. Ethereum, you're up at like, what's that? 75% of all the Ethereum ever mined, or well, with Ethereum that's pre-mined. So all of it traded hands yesterday. It's ridiculous. And my favorite, Litecoin, well over 100%. Charlie Lee's old Litecoin switched hands yesterday. I wonder who really has the Charlie Lee Litecoin. I don't think he sold it on the market. I don't know how big it was either, because he introduced and brought his blockchain forward in the most fair way possible. There was no pre-mining. He announced the date. Everybody started at the same time, as opposed to many cryptos. And no, not all cryptos are going to make it. I'm not going to say which ones are and which ones aren't, but a lot of them will. I think that there's certain ones that I am not a fan of, especially the ones that hyperinflate. I was talking about a couple of them 3 or 4 months ago, and they're like, "Oh no, we got this great project coming out. You got to see this. It's going to be amazing." Now, how many times have we heard that for the past 2 years? And in the meantime, nothing comes out, because there's always an excuse. Oh, it's coronavirus. As nothing come out, it doesn't stop the amount of coins being created. And the one I'm thinking of creates 1.4 billion a year. 1.4, I think it's 102 million. I don't know. I don't remember, but it is massive. The inflation on these coins is massive. And it's not like these coins can play the inflation game that the Fed plays, which is create as much as you want, but rig the prices of the commodities so it doesn't show up in inflation. These hyperinflating cryptocurrencies will be destroyed when everybody figures out, oh my God, I just added up how many of these cryptocurrencies have been created and will be created in the next year, and those numbers are staggering. I got to get out of this coin, and everybody runs to the exit, and there's no buyers. Boom, instantly goes to zero. Just be careful on the cryptos that you buy. My suggestion, buy Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin, and Ethereum. If you're just starting out, there's no reason to go far away from Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin, and Ethereum. Start with those. They've all been given the green light by the regulators too, in a kind of offhanded way. Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum, and Litecoin. Then you can get tricky into the other one. Maybe Theta now with all the brand broadband that's being used. Absolutely, Theta is going to be huge in the future. But yeah, that price is rigged as well. I think it's at 7 cents. 7 cents. I have been buying Theta. I admit it. Anytime I get an extra $1, I'll buy a big chunk of Theta. I love that one. It's a good one. All right, real quick on the coronavirus updates. I updated my chart. Right now we're at 300,000 with 8,162 deaths. No, I am not absolutely positive that these numbers are correct. As a matter of fact, everybody's got an agenda, so they probably aren't correct. Do I think we're going to be dealing with this shit for years? Absolutely. And it might not even be our biggest problem. There's other problems coming. But as far as my exponential graph, here it is. It has been right on for the most part, doubling either every 4 to 5 days. And interesting, when we were in like late March, I was saying, I think Trump and the powers that be are going to jimmy all the numbers coming up to say that we're, the slope is slowing down. And I said at the time, yeah, that would probably increase the percentage of deaths versus the percentage of tests. And that's what we've seen, as a matter of fact, since March 22nd. It's gone from 1.3 to 1.4 to 1.6, 1.9. The latest numbers as of last night, with 277,000 test cases positive, deaths related to the virus are at 7,400, which is 2.7%, a huge jump. No, these aren't absolutely correct numbers, because would people have died had they not gotten the virus? And how many people? I heard the influenza death numbers this year are gigantic. How many of those were coronavirus? And they just never tested them. A lot, I would assume. So, but yeah, I'm just sticking with the numbers I had. So you put the projection out. I put it every 5 days or 4. What is it? Yeah, every 4 days. We're gonna hit the million positive cases mark by April 12th, by Easter. Probably hit 1 million cases. And see, that's when it hits the exponential side. And if we fill up the hospital beds, then all of a sudden the percentage of death rate goes way up. So, and this is the exponential part of calculating these numbers. When I was saying there's going to be a couple 100,000 people who get it back in early March, when the number was 164 cases on March 8th, everybody's like, "Oh, you're ridiculous, because what are you thinking?" So just run the numbers, run the exponential numbers, and you'll see. So right now we're at 277, and everybody's going, "Oh my God, it won't go. It can't get to 1 million." It gets to 1 million in 8 days. And 8 days after that to 4 million. And then 17 million, and then 35 million. That's the exponential part. It's the end that you're like, holy shit. And as a percentage, there will be people dying. I don't know how many. I'm amazed that this lockdown was done and people are actually living by it. It's an amazing thing. And it will help in these numbers. I do not think that everybody's going to end up getting it now. Maybe over the next 3 years that everybody will get it. But hopefully we'll have some kind of announcement. One, to take your vitamin C and chaga. At least 3 to 5,000 milligrams of liposomal vitamin C per day. Chaga mushroom powder to help with the other parts of that manufactured bioweapon. So my projected numbers, we have around Easter time, I think we'll hit 1 million. I might be wrong, but we'll find out, right? I haven't been wrong so far. And these are not hard numbers to do. Anybody can do this math. And the question is, how much of it's manipulated? How much is real? How much is fake? I don't know, but I don't care. The reality is reality, and that's what you got to deal with right now. If you're not taking care of your body, you're making a big gamble. If you're not taking your vitamin C, massive doses, chaga, and everything else, you're taking a big gamble. And why? Why? Yes, everybody has to wear masks now, which is great. They should have done it day one. Oh no, we need to save all masks. Don't wear any masks. We need to save them all for the healthcare providers who will need them in the future. Everybody should be wearing a mask, and then we won't need as many healthcare providers. Just do the best you can to protect yourself. You're going to come in contact with it. Walk out and try to go to the store and come back and say, how many places and spaces could I have been contaminated by the virus if it was around me? And you're going to say, holy crap. Everything from your steering wheel to your door handle to the cart that you're pushing around or basket you're carrying, or the person who walked by you that might have it and just breathed it right on you. Everything. You're going to get it. You just need to limit your exposure to it and fortify your body and be ready for it. All right. That's all I got for you. But at the end of the day, the reality is you chose to be here at this time for a reason. Figure out what your reason is. Be dynamic. Be agile. Be ready to change everything you thought was normal and go with the flow and help the ones around you get into that mindset that we're going to get through this. You might die on the way, or you might get sick on the way, or you might lose everything you ever had in that old system. But we're going to get through this, and if you want to participate in the future, you got to be able to go with the flow, change with the dynamic. All right? I wish everybody the best. This is Bix.